So in response to the attempts on Donald Trump's life, multiple individuals in Congress, anti-gunners, and then anti-gun groups have called for new national gun control laws. So let's break down what is now happening. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to ask you all for a huge favor. Looking at some of my analytics, about 60% of all my viewers are actually not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to support the channel for free, one of the best ways to do that is simply subscribing, and then just double check to make sure YouTube has not unsubscribed you, because it happens all the time. Also, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee has amazing coffee and they're huge Second Amendment supporters. So if you want to get amazing coffee and also support the two-way cause, check them out using the links down below. And if you use the code ARMSCHOLAR, you can get 10% off of your order. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're gonna be talking about some of the responses that have now come out that have been hitting social media and pretty much everywhere in direct response to the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. When this first came out, I think everybody in the 2A community and the firearms community knew that there would be calls for new national gun control laws. It's just inevitable, even though this individual, when you look at maybe the motives, or, we still are getting some information about the motives. He was wearing a Demolition Ranch shirt, which is also weird within its own right. Some people are saying he was Republican, but he was donating to organizations like Act Blue. So there's a lot of weird things kind of going on behind the scenes. But despite that, despite even the fact that how did he get within range of Donald Trump with a rifle, people seeing him with a rangefinder, and all these weird scenarios behind this entire incident, what, of course, the anti-gun politicians in Congress have moved towards, and the anti-gun groups have moved towards, is just completely blaming the firearm, like they always do. With every single incident, with every single shooting, they automatically just go towards blaming the firearm, just blaming the item itself and trying to infringe on our 2A rights. So I wanted to bring to your guys' attention 3 of the main calls that I have now seen pop up in direct response to this specific incident, and things that I suspect are likely coming very soon as far as proposed national gun control laws. Some of these are things that have already been pushed for and introduced in some fashion before, and simply what you're probably going to see is a copy and paste reintroduction of some of these laws. So of course, the first one that is blatant, and everybody on the anti-gun side and the anti-gun politicians have been pushing forward in direct response to this was, they're calling for bans on so-called assault weapons. It's been interesting because we've seen some information trickling in about the AR-15 that this specific individual had, it being a DPMS rifle, an AR-15. I believe that was potentially purchased back in 2013 or 2015. I can't remember the specific date, which is also interesting that they have all this information about when this firearm was purchased. And some of that's leaking out, and that I believe it was purchased by the father. So even some of that information is interesting, but it's also very concerning that, again, the narrative has moved towards a national ban on semi-automatic rifles. Now, what I suspect is likely coming very soon is a reintroduction of the Go Safe Act. The Go Safe Act is something that we've talked about quite often on this channel. It's been proposed once before, and it's the Gas-Operated Semi-Automatic Firearms Exclusion Act. The Go Safe Act is simply a ban on the future purchase and sale and manufacture of any semi-automatic rifle. So they pretty much adopted a lot of the language from some restrictive states like California, New York, New Jersey, and others, and then they're going to try to apply that at the national level. Every time that something like this happens, like I mentioned, they automatically go towards, trying to vilify and blame the item itself instead of the individual. And that's also exactly what's happening in this situation. And that's why I suspect that a new national rifle ban will be introduced and pushed by the anti-gunners in Congress. Now, the second very interesting narrative that has sprung up because of this, and was probably going to lead towards some push for a national gun control law, and maybe also trickle down into some specific states, is the whole narrative around the ammunition that was purchased by this individual. The fact that he purchased 50 rounds of ammunition is, for some reason, making its way around social media. You even had some commenters on The View pointing this out as if it's so scary that this one individual was able to go buy 50 rounds of, AR ammunition, 5.56, 223, whatever it was. And as you guys know, the viewers who purchase firearms, who are in the firearms community, 50 rounds of ammunition is not this arsenal like they like to claim. It's not this crazy, scary thing that someone was able to buy 50 rounds of ammunition. If anything, 50 rounds of ammunition is just a box of ammunition. But there's been this narrative that's been sprung around this and kind of spun up about this amount of ammunition needed to be tracked. It needed to be regulated in some way at a national level. And I think we're going to see some sort of piece of legislation like that pop up. And there's already been some calls for that as far as potentially ammunition restrictions, maybe even background checks on ammunition. We already see some states like California who have put in place ammunition background check systems and restrictions on the sale and purchase of ammunition. And also, I think now, because this weird narrative about the 50 rounds of ammunition, I could see them trying to pass some sort of ammunition background check system or various restrictions on AR-15 style of ammunition. We also, I think, saw New York propose bans on AR-15 ammunition, or they called assault weapon ammunition, or various restrictions on assault weapon ammunition. So I could see that popping up as well because of this strange 50 rounds of ammunition narrative that has been going on. Now, the last thing that I could see being a direct response to this incident is specifically related to the brand of the firearm that was found. The narrative kind of going around right now is that it was a DPMS AR-15. And I've seen a lot of chatter online about the marketing behind that specific company. I saw a whole thread where you had this anti-gun organization talking about how DPMS as the company itself is in some ways liable for this incident because the way that they marketed these rifles to individuals. And they're trying to say that in some way DPMS through their marketing has tried to radicalize people. And it's just, they're claiming it is a type of marketing that can make DPMS liable for this specific conduct. Again, blaming the manufacturer, blaming the company instead of the criminal, instead of the, horrible, evil individual who actually engaged in this conduct. They want to shift the blame to the manufacturer themselves. And this is nothing that is new. We've seen this play out very often in various states, in various courts of law, in various cases dealing with very similar issues where you had manufacturers like Daniel Defense, in other companies who were sued directly by victims of various incidents because they marketed the firearm in a certain way. Potentially, we even saw, I believe, Call of Duty recently sued, and then Facebook also because of some of the marketing related to firearms in specific incidents. And I think that of all of these things that I'm mentioning is probably the scariest and probably has the most legs, mainly because we've seen this type of tactic be very successful recently. Again, we've seen multiple lawsuits against various manufacturers, various settlements where you had the individuals and the victims, suing the manufacturers and still winning settlements, even though you have things like the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which is a federal statute, a federal law that is supposed to shield these manufacturers from being criminally liable or being liable for, third-party activities. But you have various individuals, various anti-gun groups who are suing these manufacturers and trying to hold them liable. But at a national level, I think we could see also an attempt to get rid of the PLCAA so that they could directly go after gun manufacturers, and then also try to put in place some sort of national law directed specifically towards marketing, specifically towards going after manufacturers and maybe how they market towards certain groups like individuals under 18. So I know a lot of people, when they saw what happened during the Trump assassination attempt, were very concerned, especially on the 2A side. A lot of people were very concerned about what ramifications this would have. And that's already the narrative that I'm seeing kind of going on out there. Like I mentioned, the three main ones that I'm seeing is a call for a national ban on AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles, some sort of restrictions on ammunition, which is a very interesting one. And I could see maybe an attempt for a national background check for ammunition. And then also the third one, and probably the one that has the most legs, would be an attempt to try to target manufacturers, how they market, and try to hold them liable for certain marketing tactics. So again, those are the three pieces of gun control law that I'm seeing already being advocated for. And if anything else develops, if anything changes, or if something is introduced, I will let you guys know. So if you guys like this video and you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in this video and in this type of 2A news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.